Alejandro Garnacho's nightmare week continues. Not getting a minute versus Manchester United, sitting on the bench in the pouring rain to watch his Chelsea lose, to finally get a start versus Lincoln City, in which he was hooked after 60 minutes, booed off, chanted off after a poor performance. We need to talk about Bruno Fernandes and everything he does at Manchester United. Some players have spoken out about Bruno, what a good captain he is, and the stuff he does in and around Manchester United. I think Bruno deserves a lot more credit. I think, he's underappreciated personally by this fan base. I love Bruno. We're going to talk about Conor Gallagher, links to Conor Gallagher. Could United make a January move? Harry Kane also now linked to Manchester United and wanting return to the Premier League. Could we make a move in the summer? Get him on a short-term deal where Sesko's young and still develops. You never know. And updates on Tyrell Malacia. Obviously, Malacia is training with the under-21s, but apparently he's doing very well. Could he return to the first team? I doubt it, but we will talk about the latest on that. So, hello, and welcome back to Alice Talks Football, and welcome back to your 10-minute Manchester United news, transfer news, and update roundup show, where in today's video, I'm going to be rounding up all the latest Manchester United news in 10 minutes, and we're going to start with, not really news, but, Garnacho. It's been a horrid week for him, and as a Manchester United fan, that we only got 40 million for him, so let's talk about it. Anyway, Lincoln fans were chanting, "You're effing shite" at Garnacho as he got subbed off in the 60th minute. First start for Chelsea, one to forget. Now, I'm going to be very clear. I think Garnacho is going to be a good signing for Chelsea, and I think Garnacho is going to be a success at Chelsea, and I think he's going to be very good. But the biggest problem with Garnacho is his ego. That was his problem, and that will be his downfall. Pushing for this move to Chelsea, rejecting everybody else, and he's been humbled so far. He's been stuck on the bench with Tyreek George, who they tried to sell, being subbed on ahead of him by Maresca at Old Trafford. He spent the whole 90 minutes on the bench at Old Trafford, not even getting a minute when his team needed a goal. Maresca wouldn't even bring him on. He got chanted at Old Trafford. He was just being chanted at the whole time. And then he goes to Lincoln. He plays 60 minutes, gets hooked after 60 minutes, and chanted at by the Lincoln fans. Very, very humbling week for Garnacho. 0 goals, 0 assists, 0 dribbles, 0 key passes, and 0 big chances created. So not a good week for Garnacho. Even the week before, when he came on for Chelsea versus Brentford, he lost his man, which did somewhat result in the Brentford equaliser as well. So look, I think Garnacho is actually going to be a success at Chelsea, and I think he will do well, and I think this is just a rough first few weeks for him. But, since he's joined Chelsea, they keep losing games. We're winning some games, so we'll take the small W's while we can. But let's talk about actual news and actual Manchester United players now, and let's start with Bruno Fernandes. Matheus Cunha on his favourite Bruno Fernandes moment was when I arrived, he sent me messages saying if I need something, he'll be there. Lamented on Bruno Fernandes. From the first moment I met him, he made me feel welcome at the club. Coming from your captain, it's a nice feeling. Now I'm going to tell you some things about Bruno Fernandes. Bruno Fernandes goes out of his way to speak to everybody at Manchester United to make sure they're happy here, they're comfortable, they're involved, whether it's youth players, whether it's new players, whether it's old players, from Tom Heaton all the way down to Diego Leon's. Bruno Fernandes will be talking to them and making them know he's there for them. He's friends with everyone at Manchester United. Everyone at Manchester United loves Bruno Fernandes. The staff love him. He always chats to the staff. He's a nice guy. I actually speak to people that go to media days at Manchester United, and they always tell me stories about Bruno Fernandes and how friendly he is. At media days, Bruno Fernandes will go in and he'll go and shake everyone's hand and introduce himself to everyone and ask their names and speak to everyone at media days, do the media work, have a conversation with people. And sometimes they have to say, Bruno, we've run out of time, you've got to go. With other Manchester United players like former captain Maguire, it's more of a case of they do a media day with him, he's a bit quiet, they tell him what to do, he leaves, like, oh, okay, cool, bye. Whereas they say Bruno doesn't shut up, he wants to talk to everybody. And I heard a story about this girl who didn't even know who Bruno Fernandes was because she covers women's football, and she was at Man United Media Day and she was waiting for a taxi, and this random guy kept coming up and chatting to her for like 10 minutes as she was waiting for a taxi because I don't think he wanted her to be alone at Carrington, and she didn't know who this guy was. Then she sees him on the TV next week and it's Bruno Fernandes. Like, he just seems to be such a nice guy. But look, nice is good, but is he a good footballer? And he absolutely is. I think he's underrated as a captain, and I think he's underrated as a footballer because here are some stats on Bruno. 15 chances created. No player has created more chances than Bruno in the Premier League, and he's played as a 6 all season. Now, I'm going to be honest. Has Bruno been a liability in games this season? Yes. In the Fulham game, he lost his man. In the Manchester City game, he lost his man. Bruno loses his man in some big games, and that can lead to us conceding goals. But rather than taking out all your anger on Bruno, why don't you talk about the manager that's took a really good number 10 and is playing him at number 6 in his system? Bruno's not a DM. Bruno will never be a DM. But Bruno's done a good job in the DM role and is still first for chances created. I don't know. I don't think people understand how crazy it is for Bruno 5 seasons in a row to top the chances created. I don't think people know how crazy that is to be playing as a DM and top chances created. I think he's also second or third for ball recoveries or interceptions as well. I don't think people realise how much Bruno does. And when we don't play him, we see us fall apart. Grimsby, the Crystal Palace 4-0 loss. The last time Bruno missed a Premier League game, we were 2-0 down to Newcastle at half-time with Xerxes being booed off. I don't think people appreciate how much Bruno brings to United, because people are like, we need to sell him, he doesn't suit Amorim's system. He doesn't suit Amorim's system. But until Amorim can prove his system works, I'd rather build a team around Bruno Fernandes than go with Amorim's system where it doesn't matter who plays in midfield, it's not quite working yet. You know, I think like that's my mindset of, okay, he doesn't fully suit Amorim's system. He's not a number 6, but he, you know, this is how Amorim is playing and how Amorim is using him. And I feel like people calling Bruno the problem think that selling Bruno and getting Baleba will instantly change our season. We're just so much better, and that's not the case. I think this fan base think that it's a case of replacing 1 or 2 players and we're going to be good again. Oh, you know, Bruno doesn't suit the system. We bring Baleba and get rid of Bruno, we'll be good. No, we won't. Like, Baleba's had a poor start to the season, and I'm Baleba's biggest fan. I don't think people realise how much Bruno brings to this team. And I think the fact that Bruno was first for chances created is crazy. Florian Wirtz, who's clear of Bruno Fernandes according to rivals, just can't even get near him this season as well. These are their stats, by the way. Continuing on, Data MB also showed some more stats on Bruno versus Premier League midfielders. Most key passes, most through passes, most shot assists, most expected assists, most accurate crosses, most goals and expected goals and assists, most forward passes, most passes into the final third, most passes into the penalty box, most crosses into the box, most long passes completed, most progressive passes completed, most progressive actions, most successful attacking actions, and most sliding tackles, all from the number 6 role. I don't think people realise how mad that is. Continuing on, let's talk about transfer news and links. So, according to the Manchester Evening News and Mundo Deportivo, United explored a move for Conor Gallagher in the summer. But I think the reason we didn't go for it is because we couldn't get a loan. I think Ben Jacobs said that. He's struggling for game time at Atletico and could consider leaving. Atletico want 52 million for him. Like, F off. Imagine this. Your player that can't get game time, that is struggling for you, that you brought for like 40 million, you want to make profit on and get 52 million for. I think that is absolutely crazy. Look, Conor Gallagher's a workhorse. He covers a lot of ground. He works really hard. I just don't think he's that great of a player. I never really rated him that highly when he was at Chelsea. We saw him for England. He was pretty average. You know, Maino took his place in the England squad. I don't want Conor Gallagher unless it's a 6-month loan in January to boost bodies. Conor Gallagher, for me, isn't an improvement on Agate. And people might not like me for saying that. Okay, he works hard. Okay, he's an English lad. But I don't want Conor Gallagher for £52 million, not in the slightest. I take Conor Gallagher on a January 6-month loan, and that is about it. We need players with Conor Gallagher's legs. We need players with Conor Gallagher's energy, but we need players a lot better than Conor Gallagher. Continuing on into better players, Harry Kane. The Manchester Evening News said this: Harry Kane is reportedly keen on a Premier League return. Man United could be among more likely destinations. He could leave Bayern for as little as 56.8 million, provided he confirms a move with the club this winter. I would spend up to 45 million on Harry Kane. I wouldn't spend any more because of his age. But I still think, even though it's a bit slow, I still think Harry Kane's probably got another 2 to 3 years up at the top. Harry Kane coming 13th in the Ballon d'Or was criminal with the stats that he got last season. I still think Harry Kane is an underrated player, but because he's a bit older and a bit slower, it goes under the radar. And I think while Sesko's young, Harry Kane for 2 seasons would be great, but you don't really want to spend more than 40 million on a guy that's going to come in for 2 seasons. Harry Kane already has 13 goals this season, by the way, guys, in 600 minutes. Harry Kane is averaging a goal nearly every 45 minutes. Now, he's not going to do that at Manchester United because it's a harder league. He's going to get less service. But Harry Kane has 16 goal contributions already this season. I don't think people realise how crazy 16 goal contributions in 7 games is for Harry Kane so far this season. And of course, it's the Bundesliga. Of course, it's Bayern. but that's nuts. Last season, he got 41 goals and 14 assists in 51 games. I don't think people realise what a player Harry Kane is. So, look, I'd love Harry Kane at United for the right price. I would take him back for 2 years. Sesko can learn and grow from him. But right now, he don't suit Amorim's system. Like I'm not an idiot. Like I don't think he fully suits Amorim's system. Probably wouldn't do what Amorim wants him to do. I think it's more of a case of if Amorim was sacked and another manager came in and you could get Harry Kane on a cut price deal, you go for it. But I don't think he suits Amorim's system, to be fair. Last but not least, I want to talk about Tyrell Malacia. Apparently, Malacia, according to the Mail, has been training with the youngsters this week. And according to the youngsters, Malacia's intensity and attitude seems to be off the charts. He's a really good example to everybody else. He works really hard. And Malacia is also requested to play some games for the under-21s, but awaiting the green light. But those training with Malacia say that his attitude and intensity is incredible. So good things to hear. It's a shame that Malacia didn't get his move. But yeah. Anyway, people, that is all your latest Manchester United news, stories, and updates rounded up in 10 minutes. I hope you did enjoy today's video. There's updates on Kobbie Mainoo working hard, doing everything he can to impress Amorim. So hopefully we see Kobbie get some minutes soon. And I will be back maybe tonight with a video if there's any news. Thank you for watching. Bye.